All right, we're going to go ahead and make our first official topic video, and I thought about what might be the best one to start with, and rather arbitrary or random, but something I guess that I get asked a lot when people ask me for my personal email. They ask me, how did you come up with Purplebuck? My personal email, first part of that is Purplebuck. And way back in the day, when we first got hooked up to the internet, and our first email address, we had to plug in all that information and had to fill out a question there, what name are you gonna use? And I didn't want to use my name with a bunch of numbers after it, so I thought I'd try to use something that I thought was unique, and for me it is. So here goes. Purple has a relationship for me in that I am a Minnesota Vikings football fan. I know a lot of people find that hard to believe as well, but nevertheless have been since I was probably, I don't know, I'm going to say about 8 years old. My grandfather's son, which would be my dad's stepfather, played for the Vikings back in the 60s, and was a very noteworthy player. Was actually a Rookie of the Year in 1965. So look that up and see if you can figure out who that is. But I have followed them painfully so over the years, and have bought a lot of sorrow in doing so, a lot of frustration, as has most other Minnesota Vikings fan, although they've been rewarded with some good teams, just 0 for 4 in the Super Bowl, and some very disappointing NFC Championship games and those kind of things. But I am a Minnesota Vikings football fan, and that's where the purple comes from. Probably in part, I really am a fan of the state of Minnesota as an outdoorsman. Really love what that state has to offer to outdoors people. And when I was a youngster, about 1973, I had an opportunity to go with my best friend and his family to Minnesota, Boundary Waters canoe area, and go canoeing for I don't know, 10 days, 2 weeks, something like that. I mean, it seemed like forever, and it seemed like no time at all. But back in that time, that area was very rugged, very pristine, very remote, definitely a wilderness area. And we had 2 canoes, or 3. We may have had 3 canoes. I think we just had 2, but it was my best friend, his mom and dad, his brother and sister, and I. And we stayed on the islands as we canoed to keep away from the bears as best we could. And really, that was one of my first real experiences with a wilderness area, and quite had an impact on me in a way that even today I look forward to taking my kids there someday as adults and spending some time there with my wife. But beautiful state. So there it is, purple. Buck comes from 2 or 3 different areas. first and foremost, born and raised in Ohio, so I am a Buckeye, and I am a Buckeye football fan also. I attended the Ohio State University in their Ag Ed department after I started teaching to get my teaching education in line. And you know, anybody that's from Ohio, born and bred, for the most part, there are many exceptions, but Ohio State dominates the landscape here in terms of football. So that would be the first part of that, Buckeye Buck. The second part is I do really enjoy hunting. Have since I was a youngster, kept me out of a lot of trouble, and it's the kind of thing that you know, if you're not a hunter, you have a hard time understanding. As a hunter, I think you do understand pretty easily just how significant a part of that of your life that can be. And in that, I do really enjoy deer hunting. I don't only take a buck. On occasion, we'll take a doe for meat, and you know, as the need presents itself in terms of management, but prefer to take, you know, a nice buck. And so Purplebuck seems to fit. But thirdly, and not so unimportantly, I guess, my dad nickname was Buck, and he even refined it a little bit to Buckaroo, and it was something that stuck with him for many years. And for me, as a younger man, when I enlisted in the Army National Guard and served there for quite a few years, the men that I worked with in my unit picked that nickname up, and I was Buck. So Purplebuck has stuck. Could have changed it a number of times, and it just seems to work and fit for me. Whenever I see that, whenever I think about it, it brings back some fond memories. It doesn't define who I am by any means, but it's just something that has stuck and helps, I guess, stand out a little bit, because when you give somebody your email, they look at you and say, Purplebuck? Where did that come from? So I'm hopeful, as I get into doing some of these YouTube videos for the business, that Purplebuck will kind of become a trademark for me. So this is Mike Buchanan, enjoying the first YouTube video setup as Purplebuck. So good day to you, and may God bless.